Welcome to episode 10 of the Dialing for Dollars podcast. We are talking life insurance, sales, and everything that happens between the first dial and the death benefit. I'm Corey Mitchell, joined here as always by my fellow sniper, Tai Sommerville. How are you doing, sir? And we have
Right.
two very special guests today. When it comes to sales training and leadership, they are on my Mount Rushmore. Dana Nesen is the owner and founder of Empower Life Group. Impressively, Empower Life Group is the first agency in the history of our IMO lasting mark to write $1 million in submitted production in 1 month, only 14 months after building the agency from scratch. And Cayden Sanchez is joining us as well, who's almost everywhere these days. He's a sales trainer who has trained thousands of sales reps in ADPQ. He's the owner of Sniper Insurance and the Empower Life Group family, and recently started the Insurance Daddy community on School, where he has assembled a team of world-class experts, like including Dana, who's affectionately known as Insurance Mommy there, teaching agents how to level up their sales execution. So thank you both so much for joining the podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to
Thanks.
be here. I've loved watching your podcast ever since you started.
It's been a lot of fun, and truthfully, it was really just an exercise to get better at communication, which kind of brings us to today, hopefully. So that was my introduction that I could come up with, and it probably doesn't even do it justice. But Dana, just how did you get here? What's your story, and you know where are we going?
All right, well, I'll try to sum this up in a less than a minute. So I have been in telesales for 22 years and got into life insurance in 2020 during the pandemic when everyone was trying to figure out how to sell life insurance from the field to over the phone. And my background in telesales was just a perfect match because I knew exactly how to connect with a prospect over the phone. I just needed to understand the widget, the product,
Okay.
the policy. Started with a captive company, built up their only telesales division that they've ever had. Grew it to 5 million a year in production, but at the my own demise. Because I was building with a company that really didn't support telesales. They were really wanting to go back to their roots. And so we parted ways January of
Thank God.
2025. I think I had a lot. I had a huge cheering squad when that separation happened, and that led me to my mission of figuring out which IMO I wanted to partner with so that I could rebuild. And that journey took me to lasting mark, and here we are, 14 months later, with an amazing team, the best group of leaders and agents that I could. I don't even think I could have the capacity to dream how incredible this group of people could be if I would have tried to imagine it 14 months ago, and including Cayden, who's such a amazing partner and friend and mentor. So I'm going to shoot that now over to Cayden.
Right on.
Yeah.
Insurance.
I didn't have 22 years of experience, but got into insurance about the same time, right at the beginning of 2020, just before COVID hit. And I was I was just awful. I was really, really bad. But I've built a pretty good career just preparing more than what most people will, very consistently, and continuing to do that over a long stretch of time, out preparing and working really hard and having fun while I'm doing it. And I think the fun while I'm doing it piece is probably part of what has taken me pretty far,
Yeah.
because I think that's a lot of people work hard. I think a lot of people forget about the preparation, but the ones that do work hard and prepare, sometimes they forget to have fun while they're doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do that sometimes when you're struggling to figure out how to sell this thing and chasing shiny objects and all the stress that comes along with it, right? So
That's
that's
right.
awesome. So I guess the reason why I wanted to have you guys both on, and I'm so we're grateful you joined, is normally Ty and I will talk about the pitfalls that we've experienced in life insurance, so that hopefully new agents can avoid them if I can, or if we can try to help them in any way. And I had the thought this last weekend, all the shiny objects to deal with, scripts and leads are the shiniest, right? Everybody's trying to figure out the silver bullet in leads, and it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to figure out the silver bullet with the script. And I think it also maybe does exist, doesn't exist. I don't know. That's what I really wanted to dig into, but we're not at a point where we can really like lead that conversation. So I had to come to you guys. So, um, we've talked, actually, it seems like we've talked a lot about scripts this week, but with all the, like, Lasting Mark has a script, Dana has a script, Cayden has a script, they're all accomplishing the similar things, but they're all kind of written differently from a different point of view, different tones. Like, why did you guys create your own scripts in the first place when there's already some that exist, and what was kind of behind that? Maybe start there.
Go ahead, Dana.
Okay, I'll kick it off. Well, I think it's just like a natural thing to want to have your own frame and your own words. And I think I'm blurry. There we go. And hopefully you write it in a way that other people can relate to and and use as fluently as you wrote it. I took the bones of my script that I had created from the captive agency that I was with because it worked so well, the process of that. And I just tried to enhance it on the broker side. And it's definitely not perfect, but it does, I think, what all of our scripts do, which is taking people through a process of identity and um, an emotional needs gap that help people understand that we're not just buying quotes, we're buying protection for our family, and why are we not making a decision? So um, I think that's why I created mine. I'm gonna try and fix my camera again. What about you, Cayden?
Yeah, can we just take a moment real quick to just acknowledge Dana raw dogging her freaking computer camera right now with just her thumb?
Sorry, I just it's so blurry. There we go. I don't know
that,
why.
that that time we at least got the sleeve. No, I'm just kidding. I think when I first wrote scripts, it was really just my ego. Like
Oh.
Dana said, you want it in your own words. You want to feel smart, and it's like you want your own thing, and you want to feel proud of yourself. And that I was, and the more scripts that I've written, I look at them much differently as I'm writing them now. Um, because there's a big difference between writing a script I'm gonna use and a script that I'm going to be using to teach other people. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why do we write a script? Well, to make it easier.
Yeah.
Like that's the core of it, right? It's like, let's make it easier. Whether if I'm writing a script for me, I'm trying to make it easier for me. If I'm writing a script for agents, I'm trying to make it easier for them. And then as I'm writing this script, like kind of what I'm thinking is I want to write something that makes the process simple to go through for both sides.
Mm.
And so I want to be able to take the prospect through a simple journey that feels easy, but still uncovers the right stones. Because I think a big issue that I see with especially new agents to life insurance, but just new to sales as a whole, is it's their intent. And Corey, you and I have talked about this a lot, but I think I see a lot of people, they run the script, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to convince the person or trick the person to buy using the script.
That's
But
true.
what
Yeah.
what a good script does is it just makes it easier to communicate with the other person, right? But they're still a person. I'm not
Yeah.
tricking them. I'm just making the communication pathway easier, because for most prospects, everybody says that buyers are liars and all of these things. I full-heartedly believe that is just like an ego making an excuse, right, for a lack of communication. Because
Mm.
most prospects are not lying. They just haven't thought through it. Because it's like a lot of the times we're asking questions that are kind of heavy questions. And if I put myself in their shoes, somebody asks me a heavy question like that, like, I don't know, is actually a pretty good answer because I haven't thought about it before. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think a good script makes that journey easier for the client.
Mhm.
Right. Dana and I do it very, very similarly. Like incredible, like we're very much aligned in this, where it's
We
like the
probably should just come
questions
together and make one.
probably. Um, and then the questions stack up,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if I want to help the prospects see why they're getting the insurance, in their mind initially when they start looking, they might not necessarily know. They just see an ad, they love their family a lot, and they're like, oh, I should have that.
Right.
But the thought stopped right there. And then sometimes we get a brand new agent that calls them and they're like, well, why are you looking for it? And we're looking for them to open up to us and give us this like life story, which sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But then if they don't, we're like, oh, they're lying. And it's like, well, no, they just saw an ad and they're like, oh, yeah, I love my family. I don't want that to cover that. Yeah, I should look into that. Boom, they forgot about it. They moved on. They started doing the dishes again, right? They realized they were on
Yeah.
Facebook and wasting their time. And they're like, oh, shit, I have stuff to do,
Yeah.
right? And they get off.
Yeah.
And so, like, a good script is going to help them through that journey of them thinking through it a little bit more because it's a problem that they have that deserves a little bit more thought when solving it.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I even answered your question, but that's my answer.
That's fair. But you did say something that triggered another question for me is, you said earlier on you were writing your own scripts, kind of out of ego. And I think a lot of new agents do that. I did it. I adopted your script and then I started changing some of the words because I love the way you sound. I just can't replicate it. So I'm trying to change the words to match what I can speak clearly. And I couldn't get there. So I guess maybe the question is, I should have maybe audited those with you, but in terms of the script, is it more about the structure and the steps, or is it more about the word tracks themselves?
I think it
I think
depends.
I
It
think
does.
what that question reminds me of is like a weight loss conversation because it's like the same thing. It's like, are the weights more important or is the cardio more important? Well, neither fucking matter if you eat chocolate cake every night for dinner.
Guilty.
You know, like
Yeah.
what's more important? What you're doing in the kitchen, right? And
Yeah.
so when it comes to a script, it's like, what's more important? The tone, the words, the blah, 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 the structure. And it's like, well, all of that is important. But the most important thing is the part that nobody wants to talk about, which is it depends on the person delivering the script.
Yeah.
80% of whether the script works or not is the kitchen, just like it is losing weight. But the kitchen is the operator. It's the person actually delivering the information.
Yeah.
That's so good, Cayden. I say it depends because I think the assumption is that you're changing the question just in words that are more comfortable for you to say, but the reality is agents aren't doing that. They're changing it entirely. So they
Yeah.
think that they're asking the same question, but they're actually not because they've changed it so much to where they're even using it as an assumptive statement or a yes or no question. And then there's no follow. So they're changing almost the intent of the question by changing the words. And so that's why I say it depends, because I think there's too much room for a lot of error in, well, what was
Yeah.
the intent behind the question? And depending on what you actually did to change it, because I've heard that a lot, right? Where
Yeah.
you,
Yes, same.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You
It's
do
like if you're
roll.
changing it to make it more comfortable, that's different than understanding, okay, this is the outcome I'm looking for.
Right.
Right.
And here's another way that I could use to get that same outcome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know for me personally, I have made the mistake of confusing myself from making it more comfortable to making it easier, right? And so I remember, I believe there were two presentations that after I got objections at the end, I was confused because it was like everything felt like the conversation was going perfect. And then I'd realize I skipped a chunk of the script. And going back and rereading the chunk that I missed, I'm like, if I would have just looked back at the script and read this part, this would have saved me the headache at the end. So I know sometimes, at least for me as a newer agent, it's like you said, we'll change the words to make it easier to say, but without having an understanding of the foundations as to why those words were used in the first place, you'll just remove things that legitimately make or break it. And it's really crazy to see what things make or break a conversation in that matter.
Yeah. It can be just
Yeah.
a simple word track change. But that kind of led me to, while I was dialing, my mind's wandering and I'm like trying to figure this thing out, figure script out, figure out why it works, why it doesn't work. And so I'd really just kind of started just building my own structure. I'm not using it clearly, but like my own structure. And I kind of had like three parts to it. There's what is this section, like connection, problem awareness, consequence, etc. what is the outcome I want from that section, and then what should the kind of overarching theme or tone of that section be? Is there value in a new agent coming in and having that structure and going through some kind of a workshop where they can write the script in their words, but audit it with somebody who actually knows what it's supposed to accomplish to make sure that it matches? You know what I mean? So, just like song selection is key to a singer's success, is script selection and the way it's written also key, just in communication styles in general?
Dana?
I have thoughts, but I was going to see if you were going to answer. I mean, the first thing I thought of, and I would love to know what you think, Cayden, like my initial thought is you are creating unnecessary paralysis by analysis. Like
Yeah,
all that is going to do is lengthen the amount of time that people aren't actually learning in real time because they're so focused on having to rewrite the script. Oh, I'm not done with my script yet. I need to get this audited. Now I
got it.
have to go practice it. Like that's all I think about when
Okay.
you say that to me. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's just is like, is there value in it? Sure. Is it worth it? Probably not.
Okay.
Because they're two different questions, right? It's like, is there value? Yeah, there's probably value for some people doing that. Like for everybody, probably not. For most people, it's probably just going to create paralysis. Like it's just like a sexy form of procrastination, you know, just makes us feel better about it. But it's still the same thing. But at least it's a good looking procrastination, uh, which
Yeah,
whatever. But it's like, is it worth it? And ultimately, I don't think the trade-off is worth it because there's so many little things that in doing that you have to then avoid,
got it.
right? You have to avoid getting paralysis. You have to avoid overthinking it now. And there's all of these things that you've now introduced that have a potential to go rampant and slow you down
Mhm.
because you were trying to help this one small thing that would have fixed itself if you just would have started.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
know for
that's
a fact I'm definitely guilty of that because I had been away for a while. And when I got back this week, I saw that you dropped another script in the sniper group. And I'm like, all right, well, before I get back on the phones, let me go through and relearn the new script. But I kept putting it off. And then when I finally did open it up and start reading it, I'm like, oh, it's the same format, it's the same structure, just with simpler words. I didn't wasted like 3 days on an idea that wasn't really a thing. So
Yeah.
I can definitely say that that's real.
Yeah, most scripts are pretty much the same. You
yeah,
you could show me almost any two scripts, and it's like I'll be able to find similarities because it just depends on how high level you look at it.
The
yeah,
thing too is you could like a really good script probably has a similar structure even in other industries,
yeah,
for the most part.
yeah. You got to find a
Yeah.
problem. You got to solve it. Make them feel the pain of not solving it. Yeah, absolutely. But there's even the, I mean, there's more that goes into it than just the words. We kind of touched on a little bit with like tonality and pace and things like that. Ashton will say, first you got to be smooth, and then you got to have the right speed, and then you got to have tonality before you can really say you know what you're doing with the script. But what else goes into it? Like if an actor gets a script for a movie, he's got to have three C's. He's got to be comfortable, confident, and charismatic. He's got to understand where the character comes from, what the backstory is, and how he's going to apply it to the movie. And not every actor is right for every part, right? And same with singers, they got to have the right song to really maximize what they're going to do. If I'm going to sing karaoke, I'm not singing Lady Gaga. I'm singing Chris Stapleton. You know what I mean? It from that perspective. So is it?
We should do that.
Oh, I'm all about it.
But
We
this
should do
team
that.
doesn't karaoke ever.
We should do that on a content and cocktails night, actually. But is there something to that where maybe the right script? And the reason I say that is when I read through your script, Cayden, I hear your voice and I can't match it. I try so hard. I've gone through it. I've memorized it. I read it every morning, and I read through Dana's, and I can hear her tone of voice in my ear, and I feel like I can match it. You know what I mean? So I feel like delivery, I'm more confident delivering her script, and I'm just kind of coming back to around to that realization. But that's what got me thinking about this. What are your
Anything
thoughts
that's in
on
your head, there's something to it.
that's too much up there and not enough at the same time?
It's true and false all at once.
You know
Yeah.
what, Corey? The thing you're missing though in the analogies that you just used with the script for a movie and a song is, in my opinion, and I would love to know Cadence, is the most important part of a sales process, which is listening,
Yeah.
right? Scripts are pre-done. You already know what they're going to say because it's written. And songs, right? There's one person, there's nobody else contributing unless it's a duet.
True.
But for our script, the most important part of a sales process is listening and knowing, like really listening. It's so cliche to say listen to understand, not listen to respond, but that's the most important part of the sales process to me.
Agreed.
That's
Agreed. And I think even in the examples you gave, like with the song, for example, if I give that song to different artists, they're still going to sing the same song. They're not going to change the words, but the song is going to come out differently.
yeah.
Yeah, especially with AI now, like there's all these different remakes, like taking songs from current times, and it's like, what if it was like a 60s,
Oh, right.
soul song or whatever? And
Mhm.
there's all these different AI things that we're doing that, and like the song still slaps, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Slaps. That just
It
made me feel
slaps.
old.
Bet you should touch some grass.
I'm with you, Dana. You know,
uh,
speaking of Stapleton, Tennessee Whiskey is an old George Jones song. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but they sound way different when they come out with each of those singers.
but the words are the same,
Yeah.
so I think that's where what I hear when you say that, what I'm hearing is I memorized the script to a point that I felt like I memorized the script and it didn't work. And so I stopped memorizing it any further. And I decided to do something else instead of just memorizing it better.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
That's
On
good.
the other side of that, if you give a script to somebody who has really good communication skills, and I think I'll use Sydney as an example because she's killing it and she's used both scripts. She took your script, the new one you dropped last week, Cayden, and didn't even practice it. She just read it the first time through and closed a sale. Like I'm here 4 or 5 months in. I've not. I mean, the
It's the
efficiencies are
operator,
much
though. It's
different.
not the
It's the
script.
operator.
The
It's the
operator.
person
Yeah.
running the
Yeah.
Sydney
script.
could literally read the ABCs and they would and she would be able to somehow write a say, write a
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it
Mm,
comes back, like we've talked about this quite a bit, Corey, where
mhm.
it's like, what Sydney, anybody here ever seen her in a bad mood? Like, no, well, I mean, maybe Dana and myself, but they're short.
Privately.
Uh, privately, yeah.
And even
So,
then she's
but
still smiling.
yeah, like joyful, right? Joyful. She has a lot of enjoyment in her life. She's grateful for where she's at, not just like grateful to have the conversation, but she's just grateful for life,
Yeah.
right? And you can feel that through the other side of the phone. And so she's got that at her core, but also she's very sure that she's able to help people and they can feel that. Like she's like, when you get on the phone with her, you're talking to somebody that is easy to open up to because she has a good life, she's grateful, she's happy, right? It makes you feel comfortable. And you also can at the same time feel that she's done it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like she feels really like you can feel that she's confident, like not faking it, but it's real.
Uh-huh.
And when you have that combination, um, the script matters far less than what we give it credit for. But it's what everybody wants, so we'll keep writing them and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the shiny object, right? Oh,
Yes.
every time you go to a training, I like how we use that. I'm gonna use that. And pretty soon you're doing a whole different approach. Danny, you were gonna say
yeah,
something? Oh, no.
No, I was just downloading Caden's script from school.
but it gets the people going. It gets the people going.
It does.
I need to request access. What's that about?
Uh-oh.
You got to be in the scripting
You
chair.
should already have access if you're in a different place.
All right, well,
I could just send it to you.
what else you got, Corey?
Well, so I mean, this is really cool because it's really becoming less and less about the script and more about the person, the operator, how they show up. Where do communication skills fit into this? And I guess what I mean by that is just in terms of just the way somebody speaks. Because when I listen to Dana speak, I listen to
They
Cayden
fit in
speak, or I
all
listen to
over.
myself. Right, but everybody's has their own way.
Yeah.
Some ways work better than
Yeah.
others. Like I guess I'm trying to figure out how agents get out of their own way and stop tripping over the script and use it just as a tool to have a conversation with somebody. You know what I mean?
You know where I
Knee
very,
make sale.
you know where I very first started to learn and understand communication? This was back in 2009 when my now husband and I, Shell, we went to marriage counseling before we got married.
Okay.
We did not know how to communicate, right? We did not know how to communicate. Still with the knowledge that I have today from 2009 to 2026, it still feels better to just respond, than it is to actually use your skills in practice because you're filled with that emotion and you just want to respond and say what you want to say. But in that moment, in those sessions, is really the first time anybody ever taught me how to communicate properly. So I think that going back to how do you learn to communicate, like it is actually a learned skill. And it is the most important skill far beyond having a good script because outside of the words on a paper, you have to fill those questions with conversation and empathy and engagement and listening. And that's why I invested in the, Vin Jang Stage Academy for our team because I'm so passionate about making sure everybody has a baseline of understanding of how to communicate with someone because it'll make you a 10x better at reading a script.
Yeah. Very, very true. I've done several of his episodes, and I recently just went to a webinar with a voice coach, and he talked about the sympathetic nervous system and
Yeah.
fight or flight. And I think that's where I was having really a lot of problems early on, and I'm working hard on it now. If somebody gives me any resistance or objection or just even any kind of emotion that was not on the script, my brain would just flake out. I would freeze. I would either do I fight or flight? Well, I got to say something. It was never anything on the page. It was always some garbled mess, and then followed by a ringtone that they hung up. Right. So, I mean, I'm not sure if Bing Jang talks about that, but what are your thoughts on that, Cayden? You stay cool as a cucumber when it comes to those things. What is how do you what's your advice for reps on getting through that phase if they're experiencing it?
I think I know the answer to that one because I
Ooh.
know it definitely worked for me. The
What?
the idea of having fun with it, at least for me, goes a long way. Like whenever I get anything that's like not on the script, I usually just pivot straight to the here's a moment for you to enjoy yourself. Like I remember I had this one call where the guy was like, "Hey, listen, I've been a carpenter for 20 years." And I'm like, "Okay." And he was like, "And one thing I know is that when I need to get something done, I'll tell people what they want to hear, even if it's not true." And I was confused because I'm like, is this his way of saying like he already doesn't trust me? And I was like, so what does that mean for me? Like, why are you telling me this? He was like, I know that you guys are gonna do what you guys are gonna do anyways, and I know I can't trust anything that come out your mouth. And initially, I'm like, well, me handling this call professionally is out the window because I had no idea where that comes from or where it goes
You
with
know
it.
how I would respond to that? And then I want to hear what you would do next, just so
By all
you
means.
know how I would respond. And I would love to know, because I know I can't trust anything coming out of your mouth. My initial reaction is, well, how does that help you?
So yeah, that's the
I'm
thing.
going to use that.
After he said that, I was like, all right, well, let me ask you a question. And he was like, go ahead. And I was like, is it fair to say that even though you might not have always told the truth, you were still able to help the people you were working with? And he was like, yeah, I've gotten them deals all the time. Start telling them bullshit, whatever. Like it's still a better price than they would have gotten otherwise. But and I was like, exactly. So who's to say that we might not have that same luck here? And then he was like, all right, what do you got? And when I say I felt so relieved, like I still talk to this man to this day, but I'm like, that wasn't in the script. There was nobody
That's
prepared
great.
for it. But because in my mind, the whole idea of this being a full-on sale went out the window. I just was like, hey, lay back and talk to the man. So, anyways, I'm assuming Cayden's answer is going to be somewhere along the lines of just have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember the original question. So
It wasn't really a question. Or actually, it was like your autonomic nervous system, something like that. And I was like,
Sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Like when somebody
there
gives
you
you
go.
resistance, how do you get through that? Because I
More
couldn't figure
empathy.
out a way to get through it.
More empathy.
More empathy.
What about you, Cayden? That's me though. I feel like that's one of
yeah.
my powers, right? Like that's why my initial response was, well, how does that help
How does
you?
it help you?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and then opening the conversation with, if you go into every conversation just thinking somebody's lying to you, how are you ever going to get to a place where you actually protect your family? Like, so I'm just going to put it back on them but I'm doing it in an empathetic way where I get them to look at themselves and say, you're just poking at everybody that you're talking to, but at the end of the day, like that's not benefiting you or the people that you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it depends on the person a little bit, because some people it's like you have more empathy. But I've also helped reps where like they were almost too empathetic, and that's what was causing it.
Oops.
And it's like sometimes they just need to hear like, "Don't be a pussy," um, right? Um, so I think everybody's a little bit different. But ultimately, what it boils down to is like be more prepared next time.
Yeah.
Because like the benefit that we have is that we're having we're not having the same conversation all day, but we're having a similar conversation all day. And in general, you know how people are going to respond in general. And so if you're not prepared for responses that you get all the time, or maybe you only get them once every 2 weeks, it still happens. And it's like, how do I handle what the question that I'm hearing is like, how do I handle it when I go into fight or flight because I'm not prepared?
Mm.
Well, I would prepare more. And it's like, well, I do have it memorized, but when that happens, like I just don't say it. And it's like, well, I bet you if I threw you in freezing cold water and the only way I would get you out is if you could tie your fucking shoe, that you would be able to tie your shoe in that freezing cold water without having to breathe. Why? Because you've done it 1,000 times because you're prepared.
Mm.
It's true. I think you're right, Kate. And I think people use that as an excuse when they really aren't as prepared as they pretend to be.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not a big deal. It's
Yeah.
just like, the word tracks and scripts, I don't think they solve everything, but the ability of knowing them, because if I know it that well, at a certain point, I start to know how to adjust it because I know it so well.
Right.
And then when I get into that situation, maybe it was worded differently, so I need to adjust it on the fly. But if I know it that well, it's not that big of a deal. Just the same exact way that like if I have really long laces, I tie my shoe a little bit different compared to if I have really short laces.
Mm.
But we get to the same destination.
But either way, the shoe goes on my foot and it stays on.
Yeah,
On the topic of getting prepared, one thing I will say is that part of that preparation is reading and knowing the script. And I guess, as Dana often tells us, do so outside of potential dialing hours. Because I know for me, as a newer agent, it used to feel good whenever I would go to the trainings and I'll know like what to say next, so I'll get the answers right. But then it'll feel really bad when I don't have like the sales and the outcome to show. So it's like, oh, what do you call it? You called it earlier, uh, analysis paralysis. Like all of the training I've done outside of actually being on the phones makes me feel confident in training, but it doesn't translate to being as confident on the phones as much as actually being on the phones and having the conversations did.
Just because you play good in high school doesn't mean that you're going to the NBA, baby. Like there's a different level of preparation that goes in there, and everybody loves the Mamba mentality when they're watching it on TikTok. Uh, but
Yeah.
when 4 a.m. rolls around, 3:30 rolls around, and motherfuckers are hitting snooze, somebody's getting up.
That's true. That's such a good analogy.
I've been trying to start by 7:15, and I feel like I got to start earlier just to practice more. You know what I
You don't
mean?
have to. You don't have to. It's
Right.
just like,
But the best
how
do.
do I get ahead faster?
Right.
Well, we're all working with the same 24 hours,
Yeah.
and so that's what
I'll
I
give you,
mean
I'll
by
give
like
you a
I've
crazy example.
oh,
Sorry.
let's go.
So Tori, right, who I just interviewed today, talking about how to sell veterans. She knows somebody who has $1,000 a day budget and
For
has
leads.
just for leads,
Wow.
has just stacked quadruple booked appointments. This person writes 150,000 a month and has enough leads to give to his wife and his daughter, who each write 40 to 60,000 a month, and still has some to sell to his team. And so it's like what Cayden was saying, we all have the same amount of time in the day. What this person is doing actually is even crazier than, or not even crazy. It stretched even what I thought was like my limiting belief about what somebody should invest per day. And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when Cayden says like Mamba mentality, like that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Like you want to get an opportunity, like that opportunity is there. It's like
Abundance, baby.
who has the deepest pockets, right? You know how in life the rich get richer? It's that we create our own opportunity with how many conversations we're able to get. And the cool thing about this industry is that they aren't doing anything special. They're just spending more money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, you get to a certain level and you just keep putting that dollar bill back into the ATM because it keeps giving you more of them, baby.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like full close the loop, like what we said at the beginning. Right. I think when I look at my career, I could say a lot of things that make me sound really cool. Um, but ultimately what it is what we're talking about. I have just prepared more than other people
Mhm.
for a more, not just in a daily amount, but in a consistent daily amount stacked up over time. And like that's where most of my opportunity has come from. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I got good quickly from being really terrible because I outprepared most people. And then people above me noticed that. And it wasn't just noticing the results changing, but that is a big part of it because we live in a results based industry. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is. Your results matter.
Yeah.
you know Focus on your activity all you want. Good job, buddy, for doing 500 calls a day. If you don't have the results, you're still not getting paid. you know and so it's like, do the results factor in? Yes. But if they're also seeing, like, then you're getting the results from what's going on behind the scenes, there's a level of respect that comes from that.
Mhm.
And then you continually do that on repeat, and eventually it's hard to keep, like, it's impossible to keep up. It's hard. Like, most people just won't do it. Some people, I've seen people do it for a couple months,
Mhm.
but for most people it gets boring, or there's a script change, and then maybe I put in a lot of work with that first script, but then there's a script change and it's like, nah, I don't need to do that now. Right. And that, like, my ego's in the way. It's like, no, I'm too good for that now. Like, I think a lot of people, that's, like, um they get skilled and then they go in somewhere new, and it's like, no, I don't want to use your script, I got my own. And it's like, okay, that's, I personally don't care.
Yeah.
But what you're doing on your own better work. Better
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, now it's like you put yourself on an island.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Like, if it works, great, fantastic, let her rip, baby. Let her
Yeah.
rip. If it doesn't work, well, guess what? You're on an island now. And
Yeah.
so what are we like? And really, that's just like the ego talking. Like, no company has a script that doesn't work. The
Yeah.
company wants to make money too. Your IMO, they want to make money too, right? They have the script that works decent, right? They're not just going to give you a big pile of shit. I'm not saying there's not better scripts out there, but they're not going to give you something that it's like, hey, this doesn't work for anybody. Go use it.
It's true.
You know?
Yeah.
But what they can't control is the level of preparation and the intent in doing that preparation, right? Because I've like for some people, they might hear this and then they start going and doing it, and they're clocking in the hours. But there's a difference between clocking in the hours and being intentful through the hours, right? Doing something that nobody likes as if you love to do it, right? It's like a Mike Tyson quote, right? Bring us full circle back on the retard comment. Right? I would never say that to Mike Tyson's face.
Hope not. He's got a response.
You
Fight.
wouldn't have a face.
But it's like, if you can do the things that you don't love, like you love them, and do that consistently over and over and over, the question then just becomes, is it worth it? And do you believe you can do it? For me, both of them, the answers were yes.
Yeah.
Right. But I think most people's issue is caught up just in those two. Like there's all these other problems we could solve, all these ancillary problems. And Dana and I have these conversations all the time. Most of the time, we're just trying to help you feel good. But the real big issue is that you don't believe in yourself.
I've gone through some stages. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Would you guys agree that the script is probably the most important tool that an agent has?
A new agent, yes.
I think so. Yeah. New
Okay.
agent.
Right on. When you say, so at what point does it become what becomes more important at a later time?
I'm
I
gonna
don't-
say community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say community right there.
Yeah,
that
it's
is,
rather inputs.
yeah, that's huge,
Right,
especially with
because
the
what we chase in the beginning, we don't realize what we need. And
right.
that evolves and changes over time. And so we start off needing a script, needing comp, right? Needing a CRM, all the things that we need in order to get the car going. And eventually that car is just driving on a dirt path with a bunch of cactus and nothing around you, and you're like, well, this sucks, right? Because now you're just on the hamster wheel on that dirt path doing it all by yourself, and it just gets really lonely and isolating, and then people start to not do it anymore. So the
Yeah.
only thing that keeps us going is us, the glue.
Yeah.
A community help you build the road, put some buildings around you, actually some good stuff to look at, maybe a stripper or two.
Can we get some good shopping? Can we get a Chanel store?
We just got to get him in the room, right?
Just got to get them in the room, maybe.
Dial rooms are so important in my day. If doing this by myself, looking at nobody would be miserable.
Yeah.
But I can unmute and just chat. It's awesome. I don't know
You
why
know,
anybody
I
would.
did it by myself for a whole year when I started with Lincoln. I didn't have a team. All of the agents in my IMO were in the field. So it was just, I had no dial room, I had no daily training, I had nothing.
Wow.
So I was by myself.
Same.
my first year.
Same. That's how I ended up dabbling in high ticket. That's where I found my community, And I've always been the insurance guy, but I just found a community that I tapped into.
I appreciate you guys building what you have here because it's awesome. The people, the culture, everybody's pointing the same direction. When somebody gets off track, somebody can pull them back in. It's pretty tough to fail if you just stay, right? So what I'm hearing, to kind of recap, the script is important, the words are important, the tonality is important, but also as important is more important is listening and not skipping steps, help relating to the client, showing up joyful, communicating clearly, having community. I mean, there's so many other things that go into this.
There's a lot of things that are important. So if you're a bad word that I want to use right now, then that's probably not the industry for you.
A
Right.
douchebag? What's the word?
That's lightweight for what compared to what we've done through so far. So,
I know, but
but
now we're to the end.
oh yeah, but it sounds like it's the most important thing though is knowing it like the back of your hand so you can bring all the other components into it. So if you don't know it, you don't know the words, you
Yeah.
can't add your own tonality, you can't add your own flavor, you can't make it yours. Is
We could. It probably just
that
won't work.
exactly? That's what we're trying to do is make it work for more people. So I mean, all 12 people who watch us, they're hopefully it'll work for them, right?
You never know, man. There's a lot of people that are watching this. They're just in the future.
Yeah,
Hey,
I was
exactly.
bro.
just gonna say
I
that.
love
Yeah,
Cayden's
It's gonna
attitude,
age
man.
so well, right? That's
I
the
saw
best
it.
part.
I saw yours, Dana, the other day. You had a post. It was like 4.5 years later. This still resonates, or somebody's still commenting on one of your videos from almost 5 years ago. That's hopefully, we'll see where it goes. But um, I I feel smarter and dumber at the same time. So thanks for that. But in terms of no, it's like one of those things. The more you know, the more you don't know. So you know,
Mm.
but I feel like I actually have a better idea for myself at least how to get out of my own way when it comes to the script because it's not just the script. It's I don't know it well enough, and it all starts there and grows from there. So,
Yeah.
um, one last question, and I know that we're gonna put this in the comments too. If somebody wants to work with you guys, buy a policy from you, where do they find you? And I know that's probably like speaking to the choir, but you know,
Yeah, just reach out to Corey. Reach out to Corey. But if you want to find me, if you want to follow me, my handle pretty much everywhere is _Cayden Sanchez.
Yeah, I don't write business anymore, so any referrals I get, I always give them to the team. So
Send them to Corey.
at Final Expense Telesales on YouTube and Instagram and Dana Neeson on Facebook.
awesome. Well, we will put that in the comments. Thanks for listening to the Dialing Fidelis podcast. If you enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, and share it with another agent who's still dialing leads at 8 p.m. Have a good one.